Hey, friend, Chris here from WideLogicProRules.com, the website that helps you get the most you can out of Apple's Logic Pro. Today, I want to walk you through a practical example of getting started with Logic Pro for Mac 11's session players. In the last video, we dug into the chord track and how to make sense of what the chord track is and how to use it so your session players can play along to your music and your songs. In this video, I want to walk you through a practical example of loading drummer, bass player, and keyboard player alongside a guitar riff that I wrote and recorded back in Logic Pro for Mac 10. So I actually had a drummer track that I had chosen previously, a bass guitar performance I laid down, even added some keys. So I want to kind of recreate these performances, but using the built-in session players. So let's get right to it. On screen, I have a riff that I wrote a while ago in Logic Pro for Mac 10. I recorded myself playing electric guitar, then I added drummer, recorded some bass guitar, then I added some keys and percussion to fill out the riff. Of course, I've already gone ahead and added chords to the chord track lane in the global tracks. So as I start to add session players, they'll know what to play when throughout the riff. Let's take a quick listen to the riff, and then we'll start to add session players. Here we go. So there's my riff. Let's also take a quick listen to each instrument individually as well so that you have a clear idea of what each instrument is doing. I'm going to hold Control on my Mac's keyboard and press S to solo the selected region. All right, take a listen to the first bar or two of this electric guitar. Awesome. If I press the down arrow on my Mac's keyboard, I can not only select the track beneath the electric guitar, but I can also shift the solo to focus to the SoCal drummer region. All right, next is the wide soft clav. Bass guitar. Studio percussion. And a simple piano lead that I added. Awesome. So every track in this project I recorded or programmed aside from the SoCal drummer kit. I'll hold Control again and press S to unsolo the selected region. And let me mute all the other tracks aside from the electric guitar so we can turn our attention to loading session players. Now you might be wondering, Chris, why are you muting the SoCal kit? You already have a drummer region and track right here. Well, check it out. If I select this drummer region and open the session player editor by pressing E, notice the session player editor says this drummer region was created in a previous version of Logic Pro. In this case, I have to make a choice. Either I can convert this drummer region to MIDI to preserve its original state, or I have to update this drummer region to a new session player performance. For now, I'm just going to mute the SoCal kit. I'm going to keep it exactly how it is because I think it'd be pretty fun to compare. How does the new style of drummer compare to the old style? So let me load my first session player. I'm going to select drummer, and I'll choose the drummer style pop rock, which is the SoCal kit. And let me click create. All right, so we have a brand new SoCal kit. Let's take a listen to this brand new drummer region, and then we'll compare it against the old version. I mean, that sounds pretty good. Let's hear the old style. I mean, besides the fact that the original drummer region was programmed to play on the toms instead of a cymbal or a hi-hat, I gotta say the updated mix for the SoCal kit sounds way better with the new version of drummer in Logic Pro for Mac 11. In fact, let me just switch it to the toms, and let's do another direct comparison. I mean, I think the updated kit sounds way better. So let me mute the original SoCal kit. Now, anytime that I load a session player, I tend to find that performances are a little over the top. They tend to overplay, too many fills, a little too complicated beats, ghost note activity that I'm not really looking for. Obviously a stylistic thing and dependent on your vision for your own songs and music. But for example, if we solo again this drummer, pay special attention to the snare activity on these smaller hits here, and then we'll listen to some of the fill activity down here. Right, so these little snare gallops, these ghost notes of the snare, I mean, they sound cool, it's just not what I want for my riff. If we take a listen at the end here, again, that fill is cool, I'm just not sure if I want it. So let's listen alongside the guitar. Yeah, I'm definitely not feeling the ghost notes at all. And if we take a listen to that fill, so first thing I'm going to do is turn the fill complexity down completely, and maybe the fill amount to maybe like 2%, something really tiny. Let's now take a listen to this fill. Yeah, I'm cool with that. And those ghost notes of the snare, I don't really feel it's necessary either. So I'm going to go to the Details tab and turn the ghost notes all the way down. Now I have a really basic beat. I love that. Now, hearkening back to the original version of the SoCal kit, there are actually way more tom hits. So I would like to bring that back to the second drummer performance. So let me check out some of the tom patterns under the main tab. If I click on this pattern selector, let me check out the other two options. Yeah, I'm definitely feeling that. Let's check out pattern number 3. No, I can already tell you that's a little too much for my riff. So I'm going to leave it on pattern 2. The other thing I like to check into for this drummer region is to have drummer follow the electric guitar for rhythmic cues. To do that, I'm going to click on the pattern selector for the snare and kick, then click on the drop-down menu next to track. And I'll select my old school punk guitar. Notice a lot of kick activity has disappeared from the performance. Take a listen and pay special attention to the kick drum. Way sparser as compared to the original version that isn't paying attention to the rhythmic cues of the electric guitar. I gotta say, I actually prefer the version of drummer following along with the electric guitar. So I'll leave this set for the kick and snare. Last thing, before we load bass player into this project, I was thinking it would be cool to have drummer lead us into this riff with a fill. Of course, I'll need to create some room at the beginning of the riff to add a drummer region. So I'm going to hold Command and press A to select every region in the tracks area, plus the chord track here. Now I'll just click, hold, and drag the entire selection to bar 2. Now I have room to add another drummer region. I'll right-click or hold Control and click, then select Create Session Player Region. All right, I can already tell this is going to be way too long and way too complicated for what I want, but let's take a listen. That seems like a little too much. So first thing, I'm going to adjust the length of this region. So with this one drummer region selected, I'll press E to open the editor. And let's make some adjustments to the fill complexity. Maybe adjust the fill amount. Get rid of this hat. And let's take a listen. That's pretty cool. Let me adjust the intensity now. I definitely dig that fill into the riff, so I'm going to leave it as is. Also, if you ever want to customize a fill, maybe at the end of a region or the middle, but you start to see adjustments in other parts of the region that you don't want to change, what you could do is split up the region. I'm going to place the playhead in between bars 9 and 10. With the drummer region selected, I'm going to hold Command and press T. Now I split up the region. For the original region, you can see some maybe fill activity has occurred. So I'm just going to turn fill amount off. Now for the separated section, I can make some adjustments to the fill. Cool, so I'll leave it like that. Let's now load an instance of bass player. And I'm going to choose the pop rock bass player style, but of course there's many options to choose from. Okay, let me move the bass player region to bar 2 where everything else starts, and let's take a listen to what bass player sounds like just out of the box without any adjustments. Like I said, a lot of overplaying. I don't need this level of complexity. I don't want the melody walking all over the place playing octaves. I basically just want bass player to play the root notes of the riff. So let's do that right now. I'll turn fill amount all the way down. And let's set the melody to root only. I'm not interested in any octaves. All right, take a listen. That's pretty much what I had in mind. I'm actually very pleased with that performance. I thought I was going to have to customize further. Now, I could also have bass player follow along with my old school punk guitar. We see some adjustments. Let's hear what that sounds like. Are you catching those kind of hanging notes here? Let me solo the region. I'm not sure if I dig that. So I'm actually going to turn follow off. If we listen again. I'm feeling that. If we compare it to the original bass, let me close the editor and unmute. You can hear I start out hanging on the first couple notes, but then I go into this constant strumming action. So I'm happy with bass player, but obviously, again, it all depends on your style and vision for your song. Just note that bass player is following along with the chord track here. That's how bass player knows what to play and when. And notice I really had to get granular with some of the placement of these chords. So this A lands on an 8th note, this B lands on the bar, then we have an A again that lands pretty close to the following G. In fact, with my chord group selected, let me hold Option and press C to bring up the color palette, and let me add a color to the chords so it's a lot easier to see the chord track. Finally, let me load keyboard player. Of the various performance styles for keyboard player, I think most of these options, again, are going to be a little too much for my riff. We can quickly check out each, starting with the freely option. We take a listen. In this case, I think keyboard player is just taking away from the electric guitar. It's just the keyboard player's trying to be the center of attention. I'm just not feeling that. Let me try broken chords. A little better. If I try arpeggiated. Just not feeling any of that. Let's try the block chords. I think I could work with that. The first place I'm going to go for the block chords here is the pattern selector. And I'm going to turn off this steady eighths. There's a little less activity with the chords now. A little too much walking around, so let me turn the fill amount down. And let's turn the complexity all the way down. All right, I think that's way better already. Let's now paste the chords from the global track into keyboard player. From here, I'm going to select several of these chords by holding Shift and clicking on the chords in the Session Player editor, then just pressing delete. All right, take a listen. All right, way better, but I'm pretty sure this chord right here needs to be a minor. And this chord at the end, I'm pretty sure is an A minor with an extension. And the only way I know that is by analyzing my original soft clap performance here. So let me unmute and solo it. Place the playhead right here. And I'm going to go to the track inspector and set the internal MIDI in to the soft clav. And I'm going to watch in the LCD right here. You see that? Honestly, that's the only way I knew what that chord was. So that's why I changed it in the editor here. All right, I'm now going to adjust the position of the hands to be a bit lower. Take a listen. All right, I'm feeling that. Further adjustments, I'm going to load the patch for the soft clav because that's really the sound I'm after. And then I'm going to split up the region by chords. With this region selected, I place the playhead at bar 4, hold Command, press T. Command and press T. And my ambition here for this C chord is to turn off the left hand. I don't want the root note. And for the A minor 6, I think it's going to need to be a little higher. And a sneaky way that you can figure out what keyboard player, bass player, and drummer are going to play is by selecting the Session Player region and pressing P to switch to the piano roll. Right, so I can see this last chord is going to be in the 3rd octave. And let's see how that compares to my original performance here. Yeah, that's pretty much right. I see that maybe I don't have a root note for the last chord as well. So if I switch back, I can turn off that root note. If I add back my studio percussion and piano lead, let's take a listen. There you go, a practical example getting started with the session players in Logic Pro for Mac 11. Obviously, most folks are not going to be comparing session players against already existing performances, but I do feel it was a pretty interesting comparison. So I hope this video was helpful for you. If it was, as always, please subscribe to Why Logic Pro Rules. Also, be sure to check out the description below where I always include links to PDFs, guides, and templates to help you in your journey with Logic Pro. Thanks so much, and I'll see you for more next week. Take care.